Sitting with us at the table, we have Stacey D. Stewart, CEO at Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. Enjoy our conversation. Take a seat, get comfortable, because it's time to stay a while. I'm your host, Tommi Vincent, and I am here today with Stacey Stewart. How are you today, Stacey?
Great, Tommy. It's so good to see you. It's great to be here in
Likewise.
Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And look, I know you came straight from a flight,
Yeah, I did.
so I'm grateful. I'm honored
I'm
that you've taken time to come and sit and speak with me
no,
today.
I'm honored that you have me. So thank you so much. This is great.
Absolutely. So one of the things in our conversation that is extremely important to me is to be able to talk about who you are,
Yeah.
not so much what you do,
Yeah.
your title, and all of those things.
Yeah.
We know you are well accomplished, but who is Stacey?
Well, that's a good question. People rarely ask me that, so let me think about that for a minute. Well, I'm the daughter of two really great parents. One of whom is still here. One of whom is not, is passed on. I'm a mom, a wife. I'm an executive. I am devoted to girls and sports. And I can talk more about that. That comes out of me being a mom. But mostly I'm just like a fun, person. I love sports in general. It's a big passion of mine. And I just am somebody who loves to give back. I mean, I've always, in some ways, my personal life and my professional life are very intertwined. And I've always said that, your personal passions ought to align with your professional pursuits. So my work speaks a lot about who I am. I transitioned, back in 99 into being more on the nonprofit side of things. Before that, I'd gone to business school. I worked on Wall Street. I worked for Fannie Mae. I worked in corporate. And then I became head of the Fannie Mae Foundation. And that launched me into nonprofit and philanthropy. For me, though, it wasn't ever really a big difference, because even when I was working on Wall Street, I worked in an area called public finance.
Okay.
Which was, unlike corporate finance, is raising money for companies and mergers and acquisitions. I would raise money for local and state governments, for roads and bridges and schools and hospitals, right? Because that was who I was. My father was a physician, was very active in the civil rights movement, and he kind of left me with this. He and my mom really shaped me into being the kind of person that whatever you do professionally, it's not enough. It's not enough. You have to extend beyond just your work to do things for the community, for other people, right? And so for me, my life has been intertwined with, really a life of service, even in my work, even in what I'm doing now as the CEO of Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So I don't know if that's who I am there's probably some deeper levels of it, but that's a little bit of who I am. Yeah.
So you have a servant's heart.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm listening to you talk and you're talking about the things you're doing, and even from the for-profit to the nonprofit world, and I don't even agree with the statement of nonprofit, right?
I know.
It's all about impact work that
That's
you
right.
have the ability to do.
That's right.
But it requires a level of service.
Yes.
And that takes a special heart, being willing to be committed to that level of work, because it's a constant pour out.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How do you sustain the ability to be a giver?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't ever feel like for me, it doesn't ever feel like you're pouring out. I mean, when you're in service to others, I feel like you get more out of it than probably what you're giving.
I agree 100%.
So it's not a drain for me, when I can see that I'm making an impact in the world in some way. And for me, my career I've worked in the area of education, affordable housing, homelessness, financial stability, healthcare, maternal and infant health, and now I'm working on the issue of ending impaired driving. Like, I have wanted to do a lot of different good in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I haven't been stuck in just, I only want to do this kind of good in this kind of way for the rest of my life, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think there's so much that has to be done, you know? And I enjoy learning about so many parts of society and community and where there's so much need. Even learning so much now about how impaired driving is still such a crisis on our roads and how it's still killing 13,000 people and injuring hundreds of thousands more every single year. You know, someone dying every 79 seconds from an impaired driving accident. You know, this was an area that I wasn't that familiar with. I mean, I knew it. We all know it at some level. But I didn't know it at the level that I'm learning it now. And so it's actually exhilarating to be finding ways to make this issue eventually go away, but certainly to improve it because it's saving lives, you know. I felt that way when I was at Marching Knives. I felt that way when I was at United Way and at Fannie Mae. And I think if I didn't wake up every day knowing that I would be able to give back and help other people or improve my community, I don't know that it would be that fulfilling. I mean, why would you get up every day? I mean, of course you have to make money. You have to pay your mortgage and your rent or whatever, you know, your car note or whatever. Sure, you could do that, right? But is that really for me? That's not my calling. You know, that's just not my purpose. Right? So, yeah.
So I know you're a purpose-driven leader.
Yeah.
And all of the things that you talked about in the different areas where you've had the ability to make impact, there's a driving force behind that.
Yeah.
When you say that you are a purpose-driven leader,
yeah,
what is the purpose? What's the foundation of that?
Yeah. Well, I think first of all, to go back to my parents, it's something that was instilled in me early in life. My mother was a stay-at-home mom at first. She was trained as a pharmacist, and then she had kids during that time when men were sort of like, stay at home, we don't want you out working, you know. And my father was a physician, so he worked and she stayed at home. And I think she was pretty bored by that. So by the time I got to be old enough, she was ready to get out. So she became the first African-American leader of the Atlanta Fulton County League of Women Voters, which was a pretty big deal at the time. And then she moved into running for office. She was known as a good government, very ethical leader. And so she got elected to city council. She ran for mayor of Atlanta in 1993. She lost, but she, as a woman, she paved the way for Keisha Lance Bottoms and for Shirley Franklin and others that came after her. My father was a physician, but also had done a lot to desegregate hospitals in the 1960s. He was head of the NAACP in Atlanta for a period of time. So again, I had these role models of people that were in service.
Really big shoes to fill.
Really big shoes to fill.
I'm like, that is.
And you know, it's funny. It does seem like big shoes to fill, but for me, they were just great models of like, this is how you're supposed to live your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of it, I had my own spiritual growth over a period of time, and I really developed a sense of connection to, my purpose and why I'm here. And I think, I tap into that little voice inside me that says, yes, Stacey, you should do that. No, Stacey, you shouldn't do that. Because there's always that little voice in us. It's just whether or not we choose to listen to
Absolutely.
it, and that little voice is whoever we think is our higher power, or, our spiritual source. And and that has sort of guided me, in my career and in my life, in ways that I hope I've created a great model for my daughters too. But for me, again, it's just, I could be doing a lot of different things, I'm sure. I could be in maybe other careers. When I was between my first and second years of business school, I worked at Citicorp in what was called the Leverage Buyout Group. This is just a group, that was buying out companies and stripping out the value, stripping out everything to create the value. And I mean, it was just pretty hardcore corporate finance. And I got an offer to go back and work for them after I finished school, but I held out my entire second year until I got an offer in public finance because I just knew that was raising money for companies just for people to make money versus raising money for governments to do something good for someone else, the latter seemed like the right path for me, right? So anyway, I just think that purpose. People talk about purpose-driven leader. I think it's just it really is just tapping into the sense of who you are as a person and making an effort to not have any kind of barrier stand in your way that block you from fulfilling that purpose and doing it at the highest level that you can, right? Because it's not like you're not going to have challenges along the way. You definitely are. I mean, I definitely have. But you just keep going because there's a greater calling.
How did you persevere through the challenges?
Oh boy. Well, having a family, a husband, daughters, a dog, definitely helped. Having that spiritual life definitely helps. And I just really, I just reflect on history. We're in Black History Month, so we can talk about this. I'm like, look, whatever little stuff I go through does not nearly compare to the kinds of things that my ancestors or folks that came before me had to go through. I think about my own parents, growing up in Jim Crow, who had to worry about even traveling or being out couldn't move freely through Georgia and South Carolina or Louisiana where my mother went to school, without the fear of losing their lives or something happened, right? In some ways, we still have that issue today, We still have a lot of people can't move through communities safely.
Correct.
Right? But it's not the same kind of challenge today that folks had, my grandparents, great-grandparents, and others. It's certainly going all the way back hundreds of years. We've come through a lot. So you have to put these things in perspective. We have first world problems today. We have a lot of challenges. We all face a lot of problems in our life, but they are not, we still can look and say, look how far we've come, right? As a people, I look at that in terms of my own life. I can't believe I'll be 60 years old this year. So that's the other thing. It's like you turn 60 years old. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of downhill from here.
No. You still
You're looking on the other side of the mountain right now. So you might as well just take it easy.
So what about this space of girls in sports?
Oh my gosh.
And where did this come from? Your desire to be an advocate in that space?
Yeah. Well, it started with my daughters who were athletes. My older daughter was a 3-sport athlete and played everything, basketball, volleyball, ran track. She was equestrian. My younger daughter, she always says, look, there's a difference between being an athlete and playing sports, but she did play lacrosse. And I'm going to tell you, for, 15 years of going to every single game, every tournament, driving them around, and I rarely missed anything, right? I would see the issues of my girls who were fortunate enough to be in schools that had all the resources and, they had plenty of resources to pursue whatever they wanted to pursue, playing against teams where that wasn't necessarily true, in neighborhoods or communities where those communities didn't have all the resources, right? And what you see is a real talent gap, right? So it's not as if the girls in these other communities don't have the same level of talent. All these girls are talented.
Right.
It's just, do they have the resources to compete at the highest level? Do the other kids have resources to do strength and conditioning outside of what's available at school? Do they have money to go for team fees? Do they have money for travel? Do they have money for academic tutoring? All the things that today athletes need in order to compete at the highest level and to get college scholarships. Many girls lack the resources. It's not that they lack the talent or the desire. And so I started SportsMom Foundation. Really, my husband got me going on this. Started a foundation.
As if you don't have enough
As
to
if
do.
I don't have, this is not my day job, right? This is totally my personal passion. But I just decided that it was a good idea to raise money to actually invest in girls being able to compete at the highest level, to become college recruit ready. So we have 13 girls, actually 12 technically right now, because one girl graduated from high school this past June, and she's running track at VMI. She's actually a jumper. She's triple jump and long jump at VMI in Virginia. And we have 12 other girls. We have 6 basketball girls, 5 volleyball girls. We've got 1 soccer girl.
Okay.
And all of the girls are Black and brown girls, and they're amazing. And I hope that our support, nurturing, and all of that will help get them to the next level. So.
How are the girls identified?
So they apply. We've created a couple of rounds of applications. They applied. They had to write an essay. They had to have coaches' recommendations. They had tryouts, and we selected girls that way. And then I had a board, and we had a bunch of helpers and advisors, you know, that help, and they've been. We've just had tremendous support, and it's been great. You know, it's not something that I would replace with my day job at Mothers Against Drunk Driving, but it is something that, since we're in the sports environment, it is kind of a nice thing to, you know, stay very connected to sports in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially there's this push, especially where NFL flag is concerned
Love
with
flag,
girls.
absolutely.
So
that's another, I really would love to branch into flag football. I would love to do that. Yeah. Yes. So that's the next venture, right?
Listen, it sounds to me, just based off of what you have done, that's just going to be a box that's going to be checked soon.
I hope so. Yeah.
I am so grateful that you took time to join me here at the Stay a While table. And
absolutely,
my table's always open to you. Thank you so much for your time. And also
thank you for doing this and just creating a space for people to tell their stories. And you're amazing. And your story is amazing.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.